Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and we need to apologize to our community. We are running a little late with today's podcast, and that's because I had some weird, weird tech issues.
Your turn. Your turn.
Like literally 10 minutes before we wanted to start. My PC, or better said, my browser stopped recognizing all USB devices, and hence we are a little late. Apologies for that, but Dutch, we are back after we had to take a break for about 2 weeks now. It's been 2 weeks since I had my surgery, and I am still trying to recover. Surgery went well. It just takes time. And that's, by the way, the reason why I will be turning off my camera probably a lot during today's podcast, because I can't sit for too long without having pain. So I have to stand up sometimes and walk a little. And that's why we turn the camera off occasionally. Just a heads up, guys.
But I might mute quite a bit.
Yeah,
because I've got a big chest infection, so I'll be coughing, and it sounds like a dog barking, so it might be a bit loud. And I probably won't react quick enough to be able to mute myself, so I'll do my best.
We are one hell of a duo, man. But we didn't want to miss today's podcast because it has been a interesting week, especially with the Game Awards yesterday, and tons of announcements, and we have plenty to talk about, so I can't wait to do that with our awesome community. And I see the chat is filling up with a lot of familiar names, so let me shout out everyone who is joining us here live today. Big shout out to you guys, but of course also a big shout out to everyone who listens after the fact, either here on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. A big welcome to this week's World of Gaming on a Friday. And of course, we wanted to do the podcast on a Friday and not like 2 hours before the Game Awards air, so that we have plenty to cover. And I can't wait to do that, man. So, Dutch, I haven't officially welcomed you. Cheers, hello, my man. I missed you over the last 2 weeks.
Well.
Hope you're doing good, besides the cough the lung infection.
Yeah. I've been doing well. Got another 1 week of work, and then I'm off for 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that.
Sweet.
I wish it was earlier, and then I could have rested, but I've got 2 days to try and get rid of this. No, I'm good. Otherwise, I'm good. Just glad to be back. Glad to be back.
Awesome. All right, Dutch. So before we dive into the Game Awards and everything that has been announced, of course, we need to talk about the games that we have been playing. So let's get into it. All right, guys. Games. Let us know in the chat. What have you guys been playing? It's been a while again. We had a 2-week break because I had to get the surgery. And Dutch, I was in a very sweet position that I was not able to stand properly nor to sit. The only thing I could do is lay down in bed. I was off work. I had plenty of time to play some games, and I played a shitload. So, but before I get into what I've been playing, of course, again, we want to hear from everyone in the community. What have you guys been playing? And Dutch, what kept you busy over the last weeks?
Yeah, so much like you, actually, you've definitely played more than I have, especially this week. I had every intention this week to get a few more of my indie streams done because I was enjoying playing that. But because of this chest, I have literally just rested or attempted to rest on the night time now, but it's just not worked. So, um, yeah. But beforehand, before this chest took over, I was absolutely loving Indiana Jones.
Nice.
Um, Such a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and kind of mop up the mysteries and all the different side bits, and I think probably get the 1,000 Janet. Really well crafted game.
Yes, it
Super
is.
enjoy it. Troy Baker sounds the spitting double
Oh
of
yeah.
Harrison Ford. Voss is an amazing kind of ultimate bad guy in that game. He's really good. Um, but I do like kind of the overall mystery and all of the characters that kind of are played within as well. Where some of them kind of you start off thinking that they're kind of bad guys and they turn out not to be bad guys, and um, yeah, graphically very pretty. Audio great, gameplay is fantastic. So I think it's took quite a few people by surprise. I think a lot of people were expecting it to be good, but probably not as good as it is.
I'm in that boat, man.
Yeah,
It's not that I didn't trust machine games. I loved the Wolfenstein games. Um, but there was really not that much hype around indie prior to it, and it, I didn't really think this would be like very high in my game of the year list. I thought it's probably a good game. I'm gonna enjoy it, but man, like you said, they nailed basically everything about this game. I bought the early access so I
yeah,
could play, and I
same.
finished it within 2.5 days. Took me about 28 hours to beat it. Um,
Well, at least I know roughly how long it's going to take me. And how many of the side bits did you do? Did you end up just playing through?
no. I did do basically every side quest I found. Um, I didn't do the collectibles.
Right.
No, um, that was just not worth it for me. I'm not an achievement hunter. I don't care for achievements, but I do care for story content and the side quests. Pardon me. I actually didn't expect the game to have side quests. I thought this is gonna be like a, you know, Uncharted like linear progression game, but it has open areas, it has these side quests, and the side quests are so well written and tie into the main story, right?
Yeah.
um and I was totally surprised by that. I did not expect that. But I loved them. I loved the side quests. I did do all of them. And it I would need to look it up. I think it was 28 or 29 hours or something that it took me to beat the main story, including all side quests I found. And yeah, man, I love this game. It's like you said, not just visually beautiful. By the way,
It is visual
it
beautiful.
is visually
The
beautiful, and I
atmosphere that
love,
they've created and the
yeah,
lighting in all the different rooms is just fantastic. Whether that be
the
like the rays coming through into certain areas or the dust particles or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah, absolutely. The ray traced global illumination works so well in this game, especially when you like exploring a certain temple or cave or something, um, and bounces off the walls, illuminating the room in the respective color. It just works so well, and it runs butter smooth at 60. Well, I didn't do like the frame counts. I leave that to Digital Foundry, but honestly, I didn't notice any hiccups. Granted, I'm playing on a VRR screen, so that helps. But it runs butter smooth at 60 FPS. That's the only option you get, right? Um,
Yeah.
it
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 is just 4K 60. Yeah.
yeah, it's actually 1080 and upscale to 4K, but
Yeah.
yeah, you don't notice. It's like a very good image quality, even on console. Um,
Yeah.
like fantastic looking game. the It engine is just a powerhouse engine, man. And I wonder why Xbox isn't using that engine more often in their roster, because they have so many games that could like benefit from such an engine that is obviously like built to run very solid. Like think Halo, think all basically all the first person games like Perfect Dark, or I don't know. The It engine is just amazing. There's nothing else I can say.
Yeah.
This is this is just a beautiful game, great art style. They captured the atmosphere of Indiana Jones so well.
Yeah.
Um, it's like the best. Um, it's
It's like a
like
really, really long indie movie.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's the like it is the storyline and the way how it's told, and including the writing and the humor and everything. It's like on the level of the OG trilogy,
Yeah.
like perfect. It's fantastic. I really did enjoy the riddles. I'm usually not the biggest puzzle solver in games. I tend to like I it's not that I'm against puzzles in games, but ever so often either they are so simple and one of your the character or some of your buddies or so give you like a hint. Oh, you see that lever over there? Pull this. Uh, if riddles are done like that, I don't like them. I also don't like them if they are too hard to figure out. But this game nails it. Like I since I played in early access, there were really no tutorials and so online. So whenever you thought like you're stuck, you really had to think and solve it for yourself. There was no by now, like 3-4 days after launch, of course, you can find everything
Yeah.
online, every solution. I was in the lucky position to play it super early. There was nothing um, online, and I had to figure it out all by myself. And it felt rewarding. You know, it's not too hard. I know there were one or two riddles where I was like, ah, shit. I I would look that up now, but there wasn't any chance to do that, and I loved that. And like from start to finish, I enjoyed this game. I've seen a lot of people complain about the combat. I don't know how you feel about the combat.
Combat's fine. It's combat's fine, but again, I'm taking it like I'm playing the game like I would an indie game, like I would watching an indie film. Like he's not a big fighter indie. He'll try to fight in some circumstances, but a lot of the time he's just very sneaky. He's very stealthy, trying to
Yeah,
get around things and
yeah.
trying to find ways in that doesn't alert people. So that's the way I'm playing it. I'm playing like it would come across in a film as opposed to all guns blazing.
You're
Especially when you're going to like a gunfight. And if you happen to pick up a gun and you start a gunfight, you will run out of ammo because there is not weapons around to do that. Unless you pick up another weapon off another dead body. But as soon as you shoot somebody, it alerts all of them. So it's really not worth getting into a gunfight.
yeah, true that.
So I just try and do the whole sneaky, sneaky thing. But I think even the fist fighting is really good. When you get into a fist fight, it is really good. You've got to learn to like parry and block and counter and take your moves when you need to.
I felt so
Um,
too. Like you said, Indy isn't like this superhuman that is going guns blazing. He isn't
yeah.
EJ Blazkowicz. He isn't that, right?
No.
And so Indy is a more or less a regular guy, you know, shooting a gun, and that's how it feels. It's and I've also felt like the stealth. Many have been complaining about the stealth. I don't know what was wrong with it. I loved it. You sneak into a camp. You pick up the shovel that you find. You smack someone over. There are some really good animations. Like every time you kill someone or disable them,
Yeah.
it's fantastic animation work. And it felt just satisfying smacking the Nazis over the head, right? And I absolutely enjoyed it. There's really not that much that I can complain about. The only
Yeah.
thing that felt to me a little frustrating were some I didn't go for the collectibles, but I did try to find the books, to learn to make my indie super powerful.
Yeah.
And some books were so hidden, and I had no idea how to get to them, and that was maybe a little frustrating. But overall, man, I'm still too close to it to judge if this is my game of the year. But it is definitely in my top two. I
Oh.
absolutely loved it from start to finish. I couldn't put the controller down.
So is it Visions of Mana still top then?
Now I also finished Visions of Mana, by the way.
Yeah.
And that's in the top three, but not the top
Oh.
two.
Oh.
I'm torn in between Dragon Age, which I also, by the way, finished.
Yeah.
You see, I have been playing a lot. So I finished Visions of Mana, loved it, fantastic game, no doubt. But I also finished Dragon Age Veilguard, and I just had Dragon Age kept me so engaged. I really did enjoy that, especially the later part of the game when you have some of the abilities unlocked. The combat is so good. I really did enjoy the story and in typical BioWare way, you had to make some tough decisions in the final mission. Yeah, like if you played any of the previous Dragon Age games or the Mass Effect games, you know that always in the final mission you have to make tough decisions. I loved that. I loved the story. I just had a blast playing Dragon Age Veilguard. So, and then Indie, man, I'm still a little too close. Then Heffron in the chat asks, "What about Banishers?" Yeah, that's in my top four. I would right now. I would say Banishers, Visions, and then top two Dragon Age and Indie for this year for me personally. But we will do that in a dedicated Game of the Year show. By the way, Dutch, we have to we
Yeah.
can announce that we have decided that because the Game Awards as an award show are so shitty, and we can't take the entire award ceremony serious. Honestly, we've talked about that previous in the podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you guys know our position on that. We've decided to make our own Game of the Year show, and in that show is gonna be a very interactive show. We are
Yeah.
going it's not like we talk about our Game of the Years. It's a community thing. We want the community to like vote for not just vote for, well, you're gonna be voting a lot in that show. So
Yeah.
it's really an interactive show with the community, and at the end the community is going to decide what's Game of the Year. This is gonna be an interactive podcast with something we haven't done before, and I have not seen anyone do something like that. We have like a little tournament about with the best games in this year. It's gonna be, you guys will be part of the show. Everyone who is active in the chat is gonna be automatically part of the show. Um, we hopefully will also have a couple of guests to join us there, and we have like figured out something to make an interactive podcast with you guys, and we will do that somewhere after Christmas, but definitely before New Year's. We're still trying to figure out whether it's the 27th or 28th. We will let you guys know, but there will be a dedicated Game of the Year, World of Gaming interactive podcast. Something I've been thinking about doing for a while, and now we figured out how to do that. And it's something I haven't seen anyone in the podcast space do before on that level. There are always like polls in the chat and stuff like that, but this is gonna be a little different, and it's gonna be a blast. And of course, we hope you guys will tune in for that. So
Yeah.
and it gives me a little more time to like think about what's Game of the Year. Yeah.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, I think my game of the year as it stands is still Visions. I need to play more of Indy to decide where I sit on that. But it's fantastic so far, so I can't complain. And it's definitely going to be high up. Definitely going to be super high up. So we'll see. We'll see.
Sweet.
But yes, so you've been playing Indy. You've been playing. What's your final thoughts on Visions then? Come on.
Fantastic game. I mean, I'm just trying to put on gameplay. The community has voted for some Pillars of Eternity. Pillars of Eternity. Path of Exile 2 gameplay. We're
Yeah.
gonna start with that. Another game I've been playing. I will get into that in a second. But yeah, Visions of Mana. Absolutely worth playing. Absolutely worth playing, and it's a great story. It is a fantastic companion system, great world building, and fun combat. I think
Yeah.
that's my wrap up. I really, really did enjoy this game. Um, as well as Dragon Age, I already talked about that. Finished Indie, loved that. I also, by the way, started, played, and finished Astrobot.
No, the new one.
The new one. The new one. I have not played Astrobot before when it came out. Too many other games were released. Like Age of Mythology came out and all that other stuff at the time. So I didn't have the chance to play Astrobot yet. I rectified that. You see, I've been
Yeah.
really playing a lot. When
Well,
you
you've had the opportunity to.
I had the opportunity to. It's a good thing about having a surgery and only being able to lie in bed. So I played Astrobot, finished that. Fantastic platformer. It's really up there with some of the really good Mario games or whatnot. Super creative level design. Every level plays different because you get like a little superpower in every level. You can turn it into a rocket or blow yourself up as a balloon, and everything is different in each and every level. And it's a nostalgia throwback to the PlayStation history. Like so many cameos, and then you have like whenever you beat a boss, you get one of the special levels, or I don't know what they called, like a special level. One is God of War themed, one is Uncharted
Yeah,
themed,
yeah,
one is
yeah.
uh, uh, Horizon Forbidden West or Horizon themed. It's like fantastic, man. Really enjoyed that as well. And then I bought. I broke my promise that I made to myself, Dutch. I promised myself to never do a early access game again. I did promise because so often I've been disappointed. When you get into early access, you're paying to be a beta tester. Most early access games don't have enough content. Like the last early access game where I caved was No Rest for the Wicked. I haven't done early access in like 5 years until No Rest for the Wicked came out. I thought, man, I want to play that. I was so disappointed. It was like 5, 6, maybe 7 hours of campaign gameplay, and that's it. And then
Yeah.
you're stuck, and you like, okay, I want to play more. It was good, but I want to play more. So many systems were broken, and I was like, yeah, that's why I don't play early access again. And then Path of Exile 2 came out, man.
Mm.
And you know how much I love action RPGs, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Path of Exile in particular is just fantastic. The first one. So I said to myself, okay, for $30, I'm going to give this another chance, and I love it. It is so good. You can see some early gameplay, like from the first act, super early. The gameplay you're seeing right now. I'm still trying to figure out many of the systems and so on. So I've seen a lot of people talk about Path of Exile as being like a Souls-like Diablo kind of game.
Yeah.
That's not the case. It is nothing like a Souls-like game. It is just a little bit more challenging than Diablo.
Yeah.
It's just that it's nothing has nothing to do with Souls-like. I like whenever a game puts up a little challenge, people tend, oh, it's a Souls-like. But this isn't what Path of Exile is. Path of Exile is Diablo, a little bit more complex and a little bit more difficult. Like the skill tree is nuts in this game. I'm not exaggerating. There, if you open up the skill tree, you think you are looking at a map of the stars, and I was like, okay, where is the skill tree? What's happening here? But there are like at least 1,000 different skill points you can, and I was like, Jesus, how should I decide? But the game brings you to it because you can't access this entire skill tree because only a certain section is available to you for your class. Yeah, so like the skill tree is for like every of the 6 classes they have, right? And you get to do the skill tree along a certain line. It's really well done. But of course, it is a little bit more complex than Diablo because while in Diablo you can do that, and you have to do that to get to the higher tiers and so on. You have to figure out a proper build. Yeah, okay. If I'm playing as a sorcerer in a sorceress in Path of Exile. Now I focus on intelligence. You do that in Diablo as well, and then you said, okay, I'm gonna do a lightning build, and you try to enhance lightning damage. That's similar like in Diablo, but then it gets a little bit more complex because there are so many buffs you can give your character with stats, with certain skills you can unlock, or with um, upgrading your skills. And the difference is you really have to use those builds and try to figure out how to make your character powerful because otherwise you will not survive. I was like in the first act, Jesus, how should I beat these bosses? And then I went into the skill tree and I have to respec this to that, and I need to combine this skill with this passive, and then suddenly you're blasting away the bosses, right? So the difficulty is not just about, oh, the enemies are bullet sponges. The difficulty comes from you need to figure out a proper build and prepare yourself for certain boss fights. But then the boss fights are really good. They are not just bullet sponges like in Diablo. Diablo, like every boss plays the same, right? You go in, do as much damage as you can, and try to heal yourself as quickly as possible, and you're good. And if you do enough damage, you're good. This is really different. In Path of Exile, the bosses have like this. Okay, in this part of the boss fight, I can't do damage. I have to evade his attacks in this way, and after he does this, the next thing he does is that. You have to kind of learn, like in other games as well. You right? The what's a good way to explain it? The the choreography of the boss fight.
Right. Yeah.
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 And this is what is so good about this game. It's massive, it's huge. There's plenty of content in the game in early access. I'm playing on Xbox. It runs super well so far. The occasional server clash, yes. It's early access, but other than that, nothing. It runs really well. I didn't encounter any game breaking bugs or anything. It's a challenging, a little bit more challenging experience than Diablo, but definitely worth it. And it just feels more there's more variation in that game. That the state different levels and the different bosses, and you encounter a lot of bosses. Like in the first act alone, you have 20-25 bosses, and they are all correct, all have their very unique choreography, and it's just super well crafted. So I highly recommend everyone to check that out if you do like games like Diablo. And before everyone comes at me, and I'm not hating on Diablo 4, really love Diablo 4. The Path of Exile feels a little bit more like a okay, we crafted an actual game and not just do the loot, upgrade, loot, upgrade gameplay loop. It's a little bit better designed in that way, and it I haven't had so much fun with an action RPG in a long time. Honestly, this is a really really good game. I'm only like 25 hours or so in, still in Act 2. It's a massive game. Um, so, yeah, that is what I have been playing. We have been
Nice.
rambling on for a long time about the stuff we play, especially me. Sorry for that.
That's fine. That's fine. I just given my chance to rest my throat, so that's all good. It's all good. So Boxy will be
So,
occasionally standing up to stretch
to
because
stretch.
he can't sit down for too long. I'll be occasionally letting Boxy just go out on a nice ramble about things so I can rest my throat. So we'll go both be resting at certain in certain
Two
ways
sick
today.
guys here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Let us briefly check before we move into the actual topic of the week. What has the community been playing? So, Waller Weasel has been playing Neva.
Nice.
Interesting. I haven't seen
Nice
anyone
indie
play
game.
that. Let us
Yeah.
know how you do like it, man. Dustin Lambert started Nin Souls, and he's also hooked on Grim Idol. Sweet. Dan Heffron didn't have much time for games. I have been making guitar-based Christmas music for his YouTube channel. But he also got 9 souls. Awesome, man. I didn't know you playing the guitar. I've been playing. I miss playing the guitar. I can't lift more than 1 kilogram for 6 weeks, so I can't lift
Yeah.
up a guitar. I miss playing my guitar, honestly, because that's okay. Little off topic, but my wife plays the piano. I play the guitar.
I'm just thinking, actually, isn't the Xbox controller like a kilo?
No, it's not a kilo. It's a couple of
The
hundred
Elite. I'm
grams.
sure the Elite's at least 1 kilo.
No, 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 no. The elite isn't a kilo.
It's a heavy boy.
So up in the living room, yeah, we have a piano, we have an acoustic guitar for me to play, and that's how it's been like for many many years. And my wife really wanted my son to learn the piano, so he started to take piano lessons, and it didn't click with him. And then down here in this room, right on this side, you can't see it right now, I have like my electric guitars, my giant Marshall amp and everything is where I'm rocking out. And and uh, I've been trying to convince my wife that we need an electric guitar in the living room for years. For years. So my son stopped or quit the piano thing, and he said, like, I want to play Metallica just like Daddy does. Yeah. And so he started to take guitar lessons, and all of a sudden it's totally fine to have an electric guitar up in the living room because the little boy
Oh.
wants to practice, and
Uh-huh.
now we have a beautiful amp also in the living room, and I haven't played that much guitar in many years, ever since we have the amp up in the living room, man. Okay, but that's not what we're here for, Dutch. That's not what we're here for. We want to see what the community has been playing. So I lost the chat. Where is it? Do we have someone in your chat, man?
Red Wolf's just saying what his game of the year is so far, and his Red Wolf Renegades game of the year so far is Stalker 2. He's a huge
Sweet.
fan of the series.
Yeah. I have yet to finish Stalker 2. I'm only like 15 hours in or so.
I'm not. Yeah, I need to play more Stalker as well. To be fair, there's so many. I was just saying in my chat actually, I've curated myself a list of the games that I'm going to finish over my 2 weeks off, just like you have whilst you've been recovering. So I've literally did a folder on my Xbox of right, okay, I need to finish these, and these are the games I can play. I'm not going to play any other games.
Yeah.
These are the ones I'm going to play.
What's on that list?
Yeah, I've got a few actually, because there's a few that I've literally just shoved on the back burner but left installed for when I need to play. So I'll tell you. And I've just called the folder working through. So of course I've got Indiana Jones on there. I have Death Stranding on there. I've got Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. I've got Starfield, but for the expansion, because I haven't played the expansion yet.
Okay.
Alan Wake 2, I still haven't finished. Phantom Liberty, I haven't finished. I've obviously got Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster, and I want to finish that. So there's my kind of set games so far on Xbox to finish.
Sweet. See, my list shrinked a lot over the last 2 weeks. I definitely need to finish Stalker 2 and Space Marine 2.
I need to add Stalker 2 to that as well, actually.
Yeah.
Stalker 2.
So those are my backlog games right now. If I can pull myself away now from Path of Exile.
I haven't got Space Marine 2 yet, but I do need to pick that up.
I was hoping that it's on sale, but only the deluxe edition is on sale.
Yeah, and CD Keys has been short on codes recently, and I think it's very popular.
Yeah, it is what it is, right? Siki in the chat asks, when can you start playing with a friend in Path of Exile 2? You already can. It works just fine. You can play co-op online. You can play couch co-op as well.
I think you might mean how far into the game until you can play it, or can you just immediately?
You can. A friend can jump in anytime.
I was going to say I wasn't quite sure. Wasn't on like Diablo, for instance, you had to complete a certain part and then it allowed you.
You can start the game from the very beginning in co-op, or a friend can jump in later. So that if you are getting Path of Exile 2, I can jump into your game. And boost you a little. And boost.
Oh, I'll never get anything done, no Boxy, if I get another co-op game.
Yeah, but
a big co-op game, a big co-op game.
All right, Siki has been playing Overwatch 2, Asgard's Wrath 2, and Red Matter on the Quest 3. Sweet, that sounds fantastic, man. All right, Dutch. With that, I think it's time that we get into the actual news of the week, the Game Awards. All right, Dutch. Let's talk about the Game Awards, man. No secret here, we are not the biggest fan of Keely's way how he handles the actual awards.
Yeah.
Right? It's the choices that are made, what is eligible, what is not, when is the cutoff line, he moves stuff around, he does shit like that all the time, then there is an obvious bias in there. It's really not transparent who gets to vote for what. That's why we're gonna do a Game of the Year show, an interactive show.
Again. Yeah, and it means that you don't have 400 versions of IGN all voting.
Yeah, exactly. So in our interactive show, the entire community is going to be voting. Is going to everyone's vote is going to count the exact same thing, but it's a lot more than us just throwing in a poll in the chat and let you guys vote for Gotti. It's gonna be a very interactive show. This is gonna be something again I haven't seen anyone do on a podcast before. We needed a little time to figure out how to do it. It's gonna be fantastic, man. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fantastic. We do that probably on December 27th, 28th. We'll announce that soon. However,
Yeah.
I think also that's a good time to do it because by then at least everything has come out and everyone had, at least in theory, the chance to play it. So we are not going to cut out any games that came out this year. Every game that came out this year is gonna be eligible, and it's gonna be a super interesting thing. I hope that it works the way how we intend to. The very first interactive podcast here with this awesome community. So either December 27th or 28th, we're gonna announce that next week when exactly it will be, and it's gonna be a blast. So I don't want to talk too much about the awards. We will get into that a little later, who won and who didn't. Let's talk about the exciting stuff and the things that I think the record-breaking thing about why he breaks records in viewer numbers and so on every year is because it became like an E3 show at the end of the year, right? Tons of games got announced, and that's what I'm excited about. I don't care what IGN votes for Game of the Year. I care about the game announcements, and that
Yeah.
let us talk about the for me the biggest announcement first. We need to get that out of the way. The Witcher 4, man, got a 6-minute trailer rendered in Unreal Engine 5 on an unannounced GPU, NVIDIA GPU. So
Yeah.
your 5090, right?
That's the 5090, easy. Yeah.
That's probably it. The 5090 ran a in-engine trailer for The Witcher 4. They revealed that Ciri is gonna be the main protagonist, right? She's become a Witcher.
Yep.
She has the 2 swords. She's drinking the, what's that in English? The little
serums.
Serums.
Yeah.
That the Witchers are, that only Witchers can actually drink. If you know the lore, right? These potions, these elixirs would kill a regular human. And I thought this is a fantastic choice of a protagonist. I didn't expect it, honestly. I thought they are going to introduce a new Witcher, maybe from a different school. Yes, we knew that there will be references to Geralt and Ciri and Yennefer and so on, but I didn't think that they actually pick up where The Witcher 3 ended. And obviously, depending on the choices in the game, and I finished The Witcher 3 5 times, including all DLC, so I've seen probably all major endings. But depending, it picks up after The Witcher 3, and that's why it's called also The Witcher 4. I also did not expect that. I thought they're gonna start a new trilogy, and it's called Witcher something else, you know. But it's mainline Witcher 4. Ciri is the protagonist. What did you think before I talk more about it?
Yeah, I did see it coming actually, and I was laughing because when I seen it announced and when I seen Ciri as the protagonist, I was like, I remember having an argument with this like really big Witcher fan, on Twitter
Okay.
like months ago, and he was like, "It's never going to be Siri. Yeah, like I don't know why you keep thinking that. It's never going to be Siri. They wouldn't do that because Siri's. If you read the novels and you read the books, Siri is like super powerful, and she could just wipe everybody out like immediately. So it would never do Siri. It wouldn't make much sense." I was like, "But it is going to be Siri, and it will continue on." So when I seen it announced and it was Siri and they're continuing with it, I mean, it makes complete sense. For those who haven't read the novels or kind of aren't really into the lore too much, Ciri is actually in the lore. Ciri is actually the main protagonist. Like Geralt, of course, is one of the big names in the Witcher series, but Ciri is actually really the main protagonist throughout the actual Witcher series. She is the ultimate, essentially.
Yeah.
So to see them go down that route, it's going to be really fascinating to see kind of what level Witcher they kind of put you as. Of course, at the end of Witcher 3, you kind of dabble at playing with Ciri in certain sections. And she's like unbelievably powerful and like dart across the screen in different locations and really quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see how they balance her powers in Witcher 4 because Ciri is
Yeah.
if by the book, Ciri is like almost kind of a demigod. She's just
Yeah.
like that powerful. Um, so it's going to be super interesting to see how they balance it out and how they do the story. But in terms of protagonist, she's going to be one of the most badass lead characters in a video game. Like full stop. Like Ciri is when she gets going is just nasty.
That's so true. I mean, there are two ways to look at this. You're absolutely right. If you stick to the original source material, Siri is super powerful. She doesn't actually need the Witcher skills, right? She can just tear the world open and rip everyone apart by a blink of an eye. It's like she's so badass that she really doesn't need the Witcher skills. However, the
Yeah,
games have deviated a lot actually from the original source material. Of course, in general, the lore and everything that's
yeah,
happening is The Witcher. The Netflix series actually sticks a lot more to the books than the
yeah,
video games do, right? And if
yeah.
you have played The Witcher 3 and finished it, including the DLC, you actually know that Ciri is going down this route in trying to become her own version of a Witcher. That's
Yeah.
one of the endings, main endings that you choose, and it is so. In the lore of the games, it definitely makes sense that she's trying to become a Witcher. There, there are, of course, questions that came to my mind because in the lore, um, the what's the initiation of the Witchers called in English? I know the
Yeah, I know
German
what you're
word
talking about.
um, where they have to where like 9 out of 10 boys die when they do it, and only a few survive. The German, it's called Kräuterprobe. I have no idea. I can't remember what it is called in English. However, the in the lore it says only boys can undergo that this initial
It's
initiation.
the Trials of the Grasses.
Trials of the Crassus. That makes sense, right? So uh, only boys can undergo the trial of the Crassus. So I wonder how they will turn that around. What I also love to see is, you know, Geralt or the witches in general can use the 5 different signs, like Gwen, the
Yeah.
little shield, flames, and so on. Um, there was a new one that Siri used in that trailer, right? The lightning stuff where she like got the force from the water and then
Yeah,
stroke a lightning strike down on that monster thingy. And I so that tells me, okay, there will be new signs to use. So maybe that dives into the lore a little bit, and because she's from the blood of the old, right? She has these magical powers. Um, she she's actually not just a witcher; she's also like a sorceress, and can combine certain things. I wonder if they will tap into that in the gameplay, at least from this little trailer. It's either she can do new or different Witcher signs, or she can actually use leverage more magic. Um,
yeah,
it's anyway. I'm more than stoked for that game. The Witcher Three
yeah.
is probably my all-time favorite game. I just love that game. Um, so
You
much.
haven't even done a playthrough this year.
I haven't
I'm
done a playthrough
disappointed in
this
you.
year. It doesn't feel right, man.
You need to fix that. You've got like 3 weeks.
Maybe I will do that over the Christmas break.
Yeah,
Maybe
you've
I
got like
will. Maybe.
three weeks to go. So you need to get chopping.
But there are other games I need to play, man. I still haven't played Space Marine 2, for instance. So can
What I was going to say, even though if you think about even Siri going through Witcher training for the first time when she's
yeah,
young, that kind of shows her being the only girl slash female in Witcher training, full stop. So I think in terms of, like you say, in terms of the way that they've kind of altered it a little bit for more the game universe outside of the books and kind of suppressed her powers a little bit for the game versus what they technically are in the books. As you say, she doesn't need Witcher powers in the books.
yeah,
She's pretty much a god. Um, but again, for the game purposes, she is, like you say, going down the Witcher route. She's going down being a Witcher and learning those powers and having those potions and
yeah,
doing everything kind of as by the Witcher book, as it were. But she still has her own abilities,
yeah,
super speed and things being one of them, which we're well aware of. She's super fast. Um, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm super hyped for it, to be honest. But what I'm not hyped for is this game is definitely a way out.
yeah. It is. I mean, they literally just confirmed a couple of weeks ago that the game started full production,
Yeah,
right? And I mean, we know that it had a pretty lengthy pre-development phase,
yeah.
and
Do you think 27?
I think so. I think 27 sounds reasonable. Because what a lot of people sometimes don't understand with full production is that's when you bring in the big team, right? Full production
Yeah,
means you have the story laid out, you have an idea on the gameplay mechanics, you have an idea on how the world is gonna be set up,
yeah.
what's
You've got
gonna be
working prototype.
you
Yeah,
have a working prototype of everything, and now you bring in all the artists to actually create and build out the world, do all the textures, do the audio recording, do the, you know, that means full production. But for that, you kind of have to have an idea what the game's gonna be, what's the scope, what's the story, what's the world, what's the mechanics. So, Todd Howard once said that within Bethesda studios, it takes them
yeah,
about a year from full production to release.
yeah,
That's it, right? It was a little longer for Starfield. That's why he specifically mentioned that. But just to give you an idea on what we are talking about, right? Um, so I don't think it's. I mean, 25, not definitely not. Even 26, 2 years of full production for such a game in a new engine that you we
yeah.
shouldn't forget that. It's still a new engine for them. Um, but 27 sounds most reasonable. I think that
Yeah.
could very well be. So yeah, that's, and
Do
I've
you? I
seen.
want one final question for you. How big of a part do you think Geralt will play in the
Hmm.
background of this game, if at all? Do you think he'll even be in the game,
Oh
or do you
yeah,
think he's just going to be in the
no, no, no,
background of
no.
the
He's
game?
gonna be in there. I actually think that he's gonna play a relatively big role. I'm
Do
gonna
you think
go.
he's going to play a little bit more like the role Ciri played in The Witcher 3, where you kind of take pretty much the role of Ciri all the way through the game, but then get these little sections of playing Geralt again?
Yeah. Um, I could see that happening, although I think I'm not sure if he will be a playable character in the game. But Yennefer or some of the other characters in The Witcher 3 played a pretty big role, um, and
Yeah.
depending on the quest, you met them, they gave you advice, you talked to them, things like that.
They
And
teleported you into the middle of nowhere.
yeah, something Ciri really likes, Geralt. And I think Ciri will meet Geralt along the way multiple times, and he's gonna play a role in there. Otherwise, if that wasn't the case, don't think they would have labeled it Witcher 4. I
Yeah.
truly think that this is a true sequel. That's why it's not a different name. They could have, I don't know, called it Witcher Series Adventure
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Something like that. But they went with Witcher 4, and it's a direct sequel, and you know that Geralt will be there. I also firmly believe we will see a lot of the other familiar characters as well. So yeah, man, I've seen controversy already online that Siri is ugly and that CD Projekt Red went full DEI. Um, I hate those discussions. Whenever people try to criticize something, it's everything is now DEI, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and besides that, Siri looks like Siri. She's always looked like that. She's a little
Yeah.
bit more, a little bit older, a little bit, you know, more experienced now. But is Siri. I think Siri is a phenomenal character in the Witcher original trilogy. Actually, um, really, the one thing I want to ask you though, what did you think about like the visual impression? I mean, obviously not gameplay, but it's rendered in Unreal and running probably on a 5090 on the unannounced GPU. Um,
Yeah.
but visually, where do you stand?
Yeah. I mean, from the pipeline, it looks fantastic. I like the atmosphere that they're building in it. Like the way that the kind of everything does look. I've got the gameplay on, well, the cinematic on screen now, where she's kind of fighting off that beastie. But even just before that, when you've got kind of the girl getting married and in the town and things like that, I think they just built up the atmosphere and the way it looks really well.
Yeah, it does.
I've got absolutely, yeah, it looks fantastic. And again, it's all about building the atmosphere. It's not all necessarily about how brilliant something looks, but it looks fantastic the way it does. I like the way Ciri looks. To be fair, I like that she's kind of wearing the same armor as a Witcher. Just kind of reminds you of Geralt there as well. Um, Kind of wearing that chainmail armor and things like that
Yeah,
on herself.
yeah.
So no, looks really good. Looks really good. To be fair, if it's just another kind of a female representation of the White Wolf, just significantly more powerful.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I was a little concerned when they said we're going to switch to Unreal 5 because
Yeah.
all Unreal games do have a certain look to it. You can in almost every game you can almost immediately tell, okay, that's an Unreal game, right? It's
Yeah.
the typical Unreal look, and I love that they kept the art style like if you know it. It's you can automatically tell, okay, this is looks like The Witcher, just
Yeah.
with more modernized graphics and visual effects and everything. But they do keep their Red Engine look and feel to it, and I really do appreciate that um, about the game or the trailer that they've shown. It does look The Witcher in the art style, and it's not your typical looking Unreal game. So um, I really do like that. Um, but Dutch, we could talk about The Witcher for the entire podcast, and you
We
definitely
could,
know when it comes out,
but we
and we
would
will.
never get through the rest of the
Yeah,
announcements.
yeah, we've only talked about The Witcher so far, and there were plenty of other announcements. So let us move on
There
from The
was,
Witcher.
and I want to, before we get into them,
Sure.
because there's been a couple of them that the stupid woke mob of kind of latched onto again. So we're not going to kind of do that every time we speak about one of these titles, because there's a couple of titles where the woke mob have just spoke about
Yeah.
rubbish.
True.
They just need to leave the house, touch grass, and get actual female companionship, because they clearly haven't had any. Continuously talking about this because a woman doesn't have hair, or because Siri doesn't look the way they want Siri to look, or even in some cases, people showing how ignorant they are of the Witcher lore and not knowing that Siri is actually the main protagonist in the Witcher series. Um, just kind of summarizes a lot of these grifters up, to be honest. So we'll just put a pin in it there. These grifters are what they are. Nothing they say matters to me, and these games look fine. And the route that all of these games have went down looks fine. I don't mind any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into the rest of the titles.
Let's get into the rest of the titles. So we're not going in a particular order like they were announced. One other big announcement, obviously, was Intergalactic from Naughty Dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Intergalactic is gonna be Naughty Dog's next game. You play as a space bounty hunter that is
Yeah.
going on a planet that where a lot of people had, or nobody has left that, who landed on that planet has left that planet for a couple of 100 years now. Nobody knows what's going on there, and obviously Neil Druckmann is the director of that game. It was a
Yeah.
cinematic trailer. Probably could be the intro sequence of the game that they have shown, right? Um, what did you think about it?
It looked all right so far, but it's hard. It's hard to judge with a lot of these kind of story trailers. Like we can kind of talk a lot about The Witcher because we know what to expect from The Witcher,
Yeah, yeah,
and we know what to expect from Siri, and it's more just kind of guesstimating what route the story might go down. But with brand new titles like Intergalactic, the one thing I was thinking of was, interesting. So their next game is a space game, and Corey Barlogger says his next game is a space game.
yep.
So we've got we're in the realms here of Sony just creating a bunch of space games. So
That's
so
true.
we've had Concord space game,
Yeah,
Intergalactic space game, Marathon space game. Um, we've got, I'm sure there's more. We've got Corey Barlog's game, which is a space game. Um, So yeah, very interesting. I don't know why they've all chosen to do space, um, but there is one thing that Neil Druckmann's really good at, and that is crafting a story.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where this story goes. I like how it's a case of okay, it's a bounty hunter. Um, from some of the images I've seen, it's like a group of bounty hunters, or at least it was a group of bounty hunters at one point, or at least like a crew. I think, and one of her images shows like like a photo or something like that of her and a crew.
From what I understood from the blog entry is that those bounty hunters have landed on that planet many years before the main
Yeah,
protagonist, and they weren't able to leave the planet,
right. So they've been
and
stuck
so
on that
she
planet
she
since.
needs to figure out what's happening on that planet, right?
Right. Okay. So that'll be interesting. Kind of more of a mystery action adventure game then.
Yeah, at least that's what it sounds like. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm glad. I'm glad they're obviously trying something new. Um, of course, you're going to get a portion of the die-hard fans that want some uber male kind of protagonist, and or people that want them to just go straight into continuing another Last of Us game or another Uncharted game. But listen, I'm more for them going out of their comfort zone and creating new IPs, especially single player IPs. They're really good at creating single player IPs. But the one thing we've kind of lacked from Sony, especially recently, has been brand new IP in the single player variety.
yeah.
What we've had in terms of single player variety, brand new IP recently, well, it's just been non existent. But in terms of the single player stuff, we had remasters, remakes, and remasters of games that are already there. So there's nothing new really being brought out. We've had um,
Horizon,
expansions or
Last
extensions
of
of
Us,
and
and
sequels.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
agree.
but I haven't had something new from them recently. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this is about. How it plays, really is one of the things as well. I'm very intrigued to see how this plays. Are they going to maybe go down, especially being a bounty hunter? Are they going to go down into more of the action RPG route? A little bit like indie, where you've kind of got abilities and things that you can unlock and kind of upgrade as you go on, and different weapons and things. Um,
You could definitely
being a
do that in
space
sci-fi
bounty hunter,
setting. Yeah,
yeah, being a space bounty hunter, you would expect them to have some form of not upgrade tree per se, but ability tree.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, like being able to increase your jetpack or increase your this weapons range or something. I don't know, but yeah, it's going to be interesting, and obviously there's going to be having to be more than one protagonists in the game. Um, Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to have a story to marry off against. So as time goes on, we'll see who else, what other characters we'll get introduced to see how this story might unfold and where it goes from. Um, but yeah, I'm glad we're getting another brand new IP eventually unveiled. We're starting to one big game by one game get a Sony lineup in the way. It's just a shame we've had to wait for the game of the year awards to start getting a Sony game plan sorted. So we now know of Wolverine, we know of Ghost of Yotai, and we know of um,
Intergalactic.
Intergalactic.
Yeah,
So
I mean it's still not like a proper laid out roadmap,
yeah,
um,
but
like we
it's
do
a
for
start.
Xbox, right?
Yeah,
From the Xbox side of things, we definitely know about like already 5 major games for next year in Avowed, in South of Midnight, in Fable, in Doom, in the next Call of Duty, and now in Outer Worlds 2, right? We'll get into that in a second. There's there's just a proper laid out roadmap even beyond 2025. Yeah, we know about Gears and Perfect Dark and all the good stuff. um this is what we've been complaining about on the PlayStation side of things, that the roadmap, it looks so bare dry, right? We have in February Ghost of Yutei, and after that, the only game was um, Wolverine. And after the
Yeah.
gigantic leaks, we all know that it's at least going to be 26, if not 27. And so it's good that they at least gave another big game on the roadmap. No idea when that game is going to come out, though. Do you think it's a 25 title?
Nah,
I don't
miles off.
think so either. I don't think so.
Miles off.
Yeah.
I think probably same year as Witcher. I think possibly 27. Maybe he's even 28.
Sounds. I mean, Naughty Dog tends to release their big games towards the end of a generation, right? I think Last
Yeah.
of Us 2, right? Um, Came out like a couple of months before the PS5 released.
Yeah.
Um, Last of Us 1 as well. Well, Uncharted was actually kind of mid-gen thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I doubt that it's a 25. 20, even 26,
Yeah, I think even that's
maybe,
pushing it.
but
The
27,
reason I'm saying it's a little bit further out primarily is because, of course, we know what happened with the factions DLC,
yeah, exactly.
um, and that wasn't too long ago. That was still this year when they chose to, and they said, right, okay, we're cancelling that, and now everybody's going to be working on our main game.
Yeah,
So that was only this year. So if I'm taking that into account, and they're only just getting everybody really going full pelt on this new title, then I would say it's at least late 26 going into 27 for this thing to really wrap up.
yeah, yeah. I agree.
And I mean, their development cycles historically have been 7-8 years
I'm thinking now.
from start
Ah,
to finish. When you have a look at their actual development cycle, I mean, I'm talking full development cycle, though. I'm not talking the production.
they have
I'm
been
talking from
pretty
start to
long,
finish. Yeah,
although
they have been.
the studio released like a game every 5 years or so.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
of course, they have multiple teams. They have the Uncharted team. They
Hmm.
have the Last of Us team. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, let me touch briefly on one thing you said. The new IP thing. I totally agree there. I think it's good that Sony is trying out new IP and not just do the safe sequels, right? That's really
yeah,
good. And I mean, Naughty Dog has made some fantastic single player games. There's no doubt about it that the Uncharted games or the Last of Us games are of really high quality. So, yeah, man, I definitely want to see more. But of course, a new Naughty Dog game has me excited for a great experience. Like you said, they really good in storytelling. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. What else has been announced? Uh,
Outer Worlds 2. Outer Worlds 2.
you really already want to get into Outer Worlds too?
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
all right. Yeah, man. Outer Worlds 2 gameplay trailer. Gameplay
And release window
and a window,
2025.
which is nuts, man. If you think about this, Obsidian is going to release Avowed in February. In the same year, they are releasing another AAA potentially banger, right?
Yeah.
It's like
And we also have South of Midnight, and we also have Fable, and we also have Doom Dark Ages.
it's and the
Like,
next Call of Duty, and
you could
it's
not ask for a bit for an RPG year.
it's
Avowed, Fable, and
and
Outer Worlds is just insane. And then
it's
if you
nuts.
take class like maybe South of Midnight as like a light RPG
Yeah,
action adventure game, then I mean for a Western RPG platform, you are
yeah.
absolutely cooking next year.
Dude, they are cooking next year for sure, man. It's a completely entirely different conversation, and we were gonna do early next year, first week of January or so, of course, our outlook to 2025 show, and
Yeah.
this is going to be a massive topic, of course, because Xbox has an insanely good year lined up. But let's get back to Outer Worlds for now. So
Yeah.
two things we need to discuss, Dutch. First, how what an effective studio Obsidian is, releasing two AAA games in 1 year.
Yeah.
This is kind of unprecedented. I mean, I remember you and we talked about Obsidian a lot when Xbox had their super long dry streak,
Yeah.
where they didn't release like any significant game for almost 1.5 years. And I remember us talking about Obsidian being like this one powerhouse studio that just works like a well-oiled machine, right?
Yeah.
Because they released Outer Worlds, they released a Pentiment, they released a Grounded, right?
Yeah.
And all those in a very relatively short amount of time. We already knew that they have Avowed in the works, and Avowed was supposed to be a 2024 game. They moved that out to give it a little bit more room to breathe. Although I don't
Yeah.
think that February is a good month to give a game room to breathe. However,
Yeah.
um, 2 years ago, when they showed during the game showcase, their game showcase, that first initial reveal trailer, which was very humorous. They talked about, okay, we are super early in production, and
Yeah.
it's
We don't
they
even have a
made
name. We don't even have a title. We don't even have
yeah.
a date. We don't have a character. Like,
There you go. Like 3 years later, the game is ready.
yeah.
Yeah, by the time it comes out. Yeah, and this is just crazy to think about how effective and well oiled this machinery works within Obsidian. I just think a lot of other Xbox studios could look at how does Obsidian do it? How do they manage that studio? How do they set up the teams? How do they set up the pipelines? How do they share the workload? Because man, this is one hell of a studio. And the other thing is, Outer Worlds 2 looks fantastic. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like Outer Worlds. Yeah, if you have played the first one, I loved the first one. I know you loved it too.
Yeah.
It is a great RPG that is lighthearted, that has humor in it. Obviously, the trailer also already suggests, okay, hey, this is a game that doesn't take itself too serious. Yeah. But at the same time, it told a great story. You had to make some tough decisions, um, some great world building. It wasn't open world, more like open areas, but it wasn't also like an RPG that takes you 100+ hours. Yeah, I think Outer Worlds is like a 25-30 hour game. The
Yeah.
second one obviously going to be a little bigger. They mentioned that in the trailer. Yeah, but still, we are not talking here like a Starfield kind of sized game, which I super appreciate. Yeah, in a time where we have so many games to play, I don't want every game to be 100 hour plus experience. I do love those, but to have a full-fledged RPG that you can finish within 30, 40, 50 hours is super appreciated. And it looks great. Obviously, they learned probably a lot from working on Avowed as well.
Yeah.
Some cool lighting effects. It has this still a little stylized art style, but it looks fantastic. So, what were your thoughts, man?
Yeah. One of the things I did catch from the trailer as well is that when it's taken 3 times as long, but it's also twice as big.
Yeah.
Um, so, I mean, it's a good thing that they kind of told us straight away the kind of what to expect in terms of its size. So if it's twice as big as the first one, and the first one, like you say, was around about the 20 something hour mark, sort of significantly beefed up for the sequel, which is really good. probably it's still not as big as a lot of your big WRPGs. So even if you're talking about like a 40-hour game,
Yeah.
that's still a relatively small WRPG, but big enough to be meaty. It's like kind of a nice middle ground. We're not talking like, and potentially even with side quests and things like that, you might get into the 100-hour mark. But it sounds like it's probably going to be around that maybe 40 to 50-hour mark territory, which is nice. It's a little bit more of the world we loved, but I'm also intrigued to see how they've improved on the engine. The one thing that I didn't really, of course, until they had the series patch that improved kind of the baseline, fidelity and things like that of the first one. When you go back to the first one, if you don't have the series enhanced version, it does kind of look a smidge outdated. But I think that's just because of it was more just down to the resolution of the game than anything else.
Yeah, I think
The resolution was relatively low on the first one,
it
but
was
it looks
primarily designed. It was
Go on.
primarily designed for the old gen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So trying to play it on the new one, if you don't have the series version, it did look a little bit outdated. So I had to upgrade myself to the series version. So at least it pumped it out a little bit in a higher resolution, which was nice.
Yeah.
But it's going to be nice to see how Obsidian have evolved that engine regardless, because they've, of course, like you say, alongside creating this game, they've also been working on Avowed, and they'll have kind of been learning off each other on different materials and how to kind of create certain things. So, and of course, it's the newer engine. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciated Outer Worlds because it was a smaller WRPG title. It wasn't one that was going to take up all of your life to complete or get through the game. But it was still extremely enjoyable. Plenty of loot, plenty of fun to be had. And again, the DLCs that they had for it as well
We're really good.
were absolutely fantastic. So I'm kind of expecting the same for this. I've already went out and got the premium edition upgrade for Avowed, which is only like $17, and that's 5 days early access. So bring
nice.
on.
I have to
Yeah.
get that as well.
Yeah. I seen it in the store, and I was like, oh, I need to do that. I really want to play Avowed like as early as possible.
Oh yeah.
So for like $17, $18, I was like, yeah, it's an absolute no-brainer. And obviously, I no doubt that'll come with some form of DLC or something, like Indy has. So yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. And again, with Obsidian, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get well-crafted stories. You're going to get a fun time, and you're going to get a game that plays well and looks well.
Yeah.
And it's, like I said, just very, very well crafted. So it was a very nice surprise to see that was coming out next year. I did not expect that at all.
Me neither.
So
if you would have asked me prior to the Game Awards, I would have said that game is a 27 game. Because if Avowed is 25, 2 years later they're gonna release the next one. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Of course, it brings up the question: which of the tons of Xbox games is gonna get delayed into 26?
Stop it! None of them, Boxy. They're all going to hit.
They're all going to hit.
They're all going to hit. You know what I'm still surprised on to this day, though, and I'm just going to very briefly touch on it. I still can't believe that Clockwork Revolution is not sooner.
Yeah, true. True. When they've showed it last year, in 23, it already looked so
far along. Yeah.
In development, I agree.
But the games that looked like much further out, like Outer Worlds, like South of Midnight, have ended up being significantly sooner. You're like, what? How did that occur?
Yeah, that's true. No idea. Again, Obsidian, man. Powerhouse studio. One hell of a studio. All right, Dutch, what else got announced? We have Mafia.
Mafia 4.
Mafia 4. Yeah, well, it's actually called Mafia: The Old Country, right? It didn't get the number thing. It's
Yeah.
actually a prequel to the OG trilogy, going back to Italy, where it all
Yeah.
started. Also in the timeline, yeah, you could tell already from the trailer. Yeah, there are still people riding on horses and so on. So you're not in the uh, 40s anymore, 30s, 40s. You're more in little earlier, so probably early 20th century. But it looked phenomenal, man. It really did look great. It's got what you kind of expect from a Mafia game, right? A good gangster
Yeah.
story, like GTA like kind of game, but not that open, more
Yeah.
linear. It is. It hits all the right notes for me. I'm just a little concerned that this might be one of these games that will get overshadowed next year, because 25 that's shaping up to be one of the best games in video game best years in video game history.
Yeah.
If you think about the sheer amount of quality games that will come out next year, a lot of games kind of will get overshadowed. This is just bound to be happen, right? I mean, the big juggernaut, GTA 6. Yeah, everyone's will try to get away as far away as possible from
Yeah.
their release date. Um, but even if that happens, it leaves this little vacuum gap. Yeah, let's assume GTA comes out in September. Then everyone's gonna move out and at least really release their games either 4 weeks prior or after. So you have a 2 month gap. December is typically not a proper release month. Occasionally, like now with Indiana Jones and Path of Exile, you get a couple of December releases, but usually that's not. So you take already 3 months out of the year because of that. That means that you have to, in January, usually until the year starts, very end of January, February, it starts to get crazy. So you have like 3-4 months in the year out, and that means that all the rest is gonna be squeezed in the remaining 8-9 months, and that will just lead to the fact that some games will get overshadowed. And as good as Mafia looks, they said it's gonna come in summer 2025. I could I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong, because it looks really good, and I've been waiting for a new Mafia game for a long time. But it could be one of these games that might get under the bus.
I know for a fact that if Fable comes out same time as Mafia, I am not playing Mafia.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And if it comes close to GTA, nobody's gonna play that. Or too many, or that's the other thing, too many people will start comparing it to GTA, and then
Yeah.
of course, yeah, it doesn't do this as well as GTA or that as well as GTA. You know, it's a tough thing. However, I'm not complaining, because I can't wait to play the game, man.
It's just one more for the backlog.
Then, and I usually get to my backlog. I've catched up, man. I caught up.
You've had the chance to. I need my time.
I've only one game left in the backlog, and that's Space Marine. So, all right. What else got announced? We're not gonna go through all the. There were tons of like JRPGs or Japanese.
Yeah, we'll not touch them, but we will touch
not-
Borderlands 4.
Borderlands 4. All right, let's talk about that.
Because
Were
that
you
looks
happy?
it looks different. You know what? It looks different because it looks like there's a full-scale war going on between, of course, what do you want to even call them? Like the vagabonds, like
Yeah.
what the the unruly sort that you've been fighting throughout the rest of the trilogy. But they're against some weird kind of alien beings with this kind of god that seems to be controlling them all.
Mm.
And there seems to be some head-to-head war between them. Now that intrigues me because it makes me think, right, who are we linking up with then in this war?
He's called the Timekeeper.
So are we going against the timekeeper and therefore fighting for the first time alongside the ones we've been killing all the way through the series? Or are we fighting with the timekeeper against the ones we've been killing all the way through the season?
That's a very good question. I mean, honestly, I thought that they are going to find a way to bring back Handsome Jack.
Yeah.
Because hands down, Handsome Jack is one of the all-time great
Villains.
antagonists,
Yeah.
villains. Yeah, he's. If it wasn't for him, I doubt that Borderlands would have had the success that they had with the
Yeah.
first games. Handsome Jack just he needs to be in a Borderlands game, and I mean, they didn't reveal too much. Yeah, they revealed a villain, the Timekeeper, obviously, but it's not. We're not sure. Maybe they still will bring back Handsome Jack, but um, overall, I mean, it looks like Borderlands.
Yeah.
It's more of what I do enjoy about, and I even enjoyed Borderlands 3. I know a lot of people said,
See,
well,
I reinstalled it the other day in order to go for it and give it another shot. So I might play that with somebody over my Christmas break and see if I can get through.
it's a good choice. Listen, I don't think that the end game was super well done, or maybe it just came out during a time period where I didn't really have the time or the interest in doing the end game stuff in Borderlands 3, but the campaign in Borderlands
Yeah.
3 was pure joy and fun. Um, so um, no, I'm looking forward to it. They stayed with obviously with the classic cell shaded look.
Yeah.
But yeah, cannot wait. Uh, they only gave 2025 as a window. This is
Still
still
another big game.
it's another big game. It's a, it's a beloved series for the most part. However, it could end up suffering the same fate, like I just mentioned with Mafia, because it's just ah, such a big year next year. But it's a
Yeah.
good thing to complain about, and um, yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No. I think that's all good.
Onimusha got announced.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
It's not one of the games that I was ever big on. So I'm super happy. Everyone's so happy about Onimusha. But it was never one that really
Hmm.
like, and I can understand why people got so hyped about another fighty slashy game as well that
Yeah.
everybody loved from last year. That was also nominated this year. That just got another sequel. Um, that we'll talk about soon. But yeah, Onimusha was never my bag. But I'm really happy that people are getting one of these legacy games returning for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been almost 20 years. I want to say, when was the
Yeah,
last Onimusha? 2005, I think. Somebody
yeah,
in the chat can correct me, but somewhere in that ballpark around 2005. So it's been 20 years plus minus. And so I'm glad that the series is going to come back. However, honestly, I wasn't really convinced convinced with the trailer. I thought, and maybe I'm completely wrong, but it looked like they are trying to Souls like Onimusha.
Yeah, that's what I seen.
It,
Just looks like another Souls game.
it it's I'm I do enjoy did enjoy games like Elden Ring, but I don't need that too often. I don't really don't. If you do a Souls like, do it as good as From Software. But so many games these days try to mimic this by simply making the difficulty high and just not nailing it. And it's I don't need that in every game. And too, it feels to me that we get too many of these kind of games, and with that they lose what made them so special. When only From Software did those kind of games, yeah, the Demon Souls, Dark Souls, the Bloodborns, and you name it. Then this was something special. When every 3, 4, 5 years, one of these kind of experiences came along. Now you get them
Yeah.
in so many games, and I don't need that. And maybe I'm interpreting something into this trailer that isn't there, and maybe it's not a Souls like, but it most certainly looked like one. And so my hype around Onimusha isn't too high
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah.
One game I was really surprised to see, honestly, is Turok coming back.
Yes.
Turok Origins,
Yeah.
um, from Saber Interactive, uh, right? And
Yeah.
it's a third person game now. It didn't go first person like the original Turoks. I remember I loved Turok on the N64. I remember that so fondly. I had a blast playing Turok. They fell off with a couple of the sequels that came later during the Xbox One or 360 generation, respectively. Then, but it's like, and then the IP kind of died, and it's back, and it looks good. It looks like a really good time. I love shooting some dinosaurs, and I don't know. What do you think about Turok?
Yes, I'm very glad it's coming back. Very glad. So, like you say, it's been a long time since we've had a Turok, like a really long time. So, we've been asking for one, and we eventually got one. So, happy days. I think it's actually quite far out, though, isn't it? I'm sure it said 27 or 26 or something.
They didn't say. They didn't give a release window. Um,
Mm,
so I don't know, but I would assume that this is not a 25 title.
yeah.
But this is just my assumption. We actually don't know. They've shown pretty good snippets from of gameplay in it, right? In the trailer, different dinosaurs, different weapons, different characters. It looks to
Yeah.
me like this could be like designed as a co-op experience as well, which
Yeah.
is good. Is a good thing, right? And so, yeah, man. Um, this is this was also something I didn't really expect. Um, then we
I want to
have
touch on a game that was a surprise for me. Well, and I'm glad it's eventually been spoken about. Split Fiction
oh
by
yeah,
Joseph Fares.
the
Yes.
makers of It Takes Two.
Yeah, eventually.
Oh
Eventually,
yeah,
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for it for so long. It Takes Two is one of my all time favorite games. It is just such a fantastic experience. And if it, for some reason, people in the chat haven't played It Takes Two yet, get on it because it is just really well made. Like every level is different. You get new abilities in every level. The
yeah,
story is fantastic.
I
Like, it's
agree.
just top to bottom. It is just an unbelievable experience.
I agree.
I didn't expect it when I played it, and I come out of that thinking like I've just played probably one of the best games I've ever played from a gameplay perspective and in the way it's crafted. Um, and every game that he's created as well, Joseph Fares, he is a big character, but every game he's created has just went from strength to strength. And he's kind of learned from each experience and only done better ever since then. So he had the Two Brothers games, and then he
Yeah.
moved on and did the Prison Break game, A Way Out, which was okay, but it was an improvement over the Brothers game. And then the next one was, um,
It takes two.
yeah, It Takes Two, which was just unbelievable. And again, he's probably learnt from that, and I see kind of hints of like Tron and things like that in this one.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
you switch in between a fantasy world and a sci-fi world, right?
yeah, it, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what he's managed to pull together here. But and another beautiful thing about that is you only ever, for every one of these games, only one person needs to own it for two people to play it,
Yeah.
whether that be digitally or physically, whether that be couch co-op or online. So you don't need somebody to buy the game. The only time they need to have the game is if they want to earn achievements, and that's fine. It just won't show up on their register, but they can play and experience the game.
Yeah.
And I love that he continues to do that. So hats off to him for that. It means that more people can get to experience it with their friends or family or loved ones, and they only ever have to buy it once. I've already pre-ordered it. Absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait. It's like super happy that got shown off. I was like, yes, eventually.
I knew that.
Eventually.
When I saw the
Yeah.
trailer, I knew, oh man, this is a Dutch game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. It Takes Two is one of the very rare games that I've played with my wife. She usually doesn't play video games, you know.
Yeah.
And there have only been very, very few games that I actually played with her, and It Takes Two was one of these games, and so I can't wait to play that. Like you said, such a creative way to do co-op, very unique. Yeah, not many games out there that did something similar. It's super creative, and yeah, definitely one of the highlights, man. At the end.
And I just like is another good thing about it though is that it's whether it's online or in person, it's permanently split screen. So even if
Yeah,
you've completed your bit, you can kind of help them and guide them. Even online, you can guide them by like, oh no, no, like jump over to there and then go to your
yeah,
left and think you can kind of help, and it's really good. It's a really like should we say a team building.
true, true that. Um, Another co-op game was announced: Elden Ring, Night Rain. It's gonna be a
Yes.
standalone game, so it's not a DLC. It's gonna be an actual standalone, not like the Game of the Year nominee that they had
Yeah.
this year, right?
Yeah.
This is a co-op experience. I didn't expect them to go back to Elden Ring that quickly, honestly, let alone with a co-op experience. And I mean,
Yeah.
there were co-op elements already in Elden Ring, right? You could join
Yeah.
other gamers experience, and but did this do anything for you?
Nah. Mainly for me, the reason why, and it seems it's horrible to say this from a from software perspective, but it feels like a bit of a cash grab. It feels like they've kind of got to grips with how to do the online co-op part correctly. That didn't work correctly in Elden Ring, and it was an absolute nightmare. You had to craft this and then do this and then go to a certain part, and then this guy can eventually join you, and even then he can only join you for so long.
Yeah.
So the co-op section in Elden Ring was terrible. It kind of half worked. So they've kind of just eventually got to grips with how to do actual co-op, and now they're like, right, okay, let's just do a co-op version of the game that we've just put out. We'll create a few new environments. We're not going to use any new assets. We'll just put out another game, but we'll use the Elden Ring name. So it's going to sell plenty, but I think it's just a quick. It's came out far too quick, which tells me that it's just an asset flip. okay, we've figured out the online, so let's just do an asset flip.
Yeah, I had a very similar thought, honestly. I really did enjoy Elden Ring, but it was like I never played co-op in Elden Ring. Not just because the system itself was kind of a mess, but
Yeah,
it's this kind of game that you need to experience alone. You kind of have to learn how to do the fights right and not die every 2 seconds and maybe grind a little for yourself to in order to beat the next boss or whatever. And it's one of those games that does not need co-op. There are just games out there that don't need that. And I feel Elden Ring is one of these games, right? Um, so and given how quickly they released that after it took them what 2 or 3 years to do the proper DLC, and now it
yeah,
takes them less than a year to bring out a standalone co-op experience. I had a very very similar thought like you did. This
yeah.
is just another cash grab. So let's see. Maybe we're proven wrong. Let's see what else got announced. Project Robot, very
Yeah.
interesting. The makers of Echo and Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, and on Xbox for the first time.
And for the first time on Xbox, indeed. And of course on everything else, not an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
But for the first time on release, day one. Any thoughts?
It looks intriguing. And of course, he's made some. Should we say story-wise, they've made some nice games previously. I think mechanically, it looks a bit clunky.
Yeah, well, they didn't really show it that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's more the movement of the character. Like the way the character moves, from what I can see on this little, and it is little section that they've shown you, more so the beginning, looks almost identical to the way the characters have moved in the previous titles they've created. Which, and if they feel the same, it'll feel outdated.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of them things. I'm glad it's eventually coming over. Let's see what the story's about. I hope mechanically they've kind of improved it a bit and it feels a little bit more up to date on their new title. But yeah, I'm glad for the first time we're getting to see his work on platforms outside of PlayStation. But let's see what it's all about.
Yeah, it's definitely one of these games where I need to see more to get really hyped. But given that especially Shadow of the Colossus was a great game. It was really a good game. Very unique, different than many of the mainstream games that are out there. And I love these kind of experiences. And so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt simply for their track record. Also cool to see that they are moving away from being a PlayStation exclusive, which is awesome. And yeah, so I need to see more, but it definitely has my interest. Something, also a game I don't expect in 25, by the way.
Yeah. It's a little way out.
Sonic Racing Cross Worlds was announced.
Cool.
Okay, move on, because I couldn't care less, honestly.
Yeah, that makes two of us.
Yeah.
Vincent will be crying.
Yeah,
Vincent will be crying.
He will
so
be
much right now that we said that.
Yeah,
but I couldn't
care less. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming to PC next month.
Fantastic. I know Daz is loving that because Daz has pretty much ditched console altogether and he's PC only now. And that includes PlayStation. He's just went completely PC. So he's He's loving the fact that that's going to PC. I was looking at the specs as well that's required, and the recommended is only a 2070.
Oh, okay. Not that much.
And the Ultra or whatever it is like a 4070 or 4080 or something like that. If you
Yeah.
want to do like everything maxed, so I think it's not even ridiculous. So recommended usually like medium settings. I'll be in the kind of between medium and ultra, so I'll be in the kind of high ballpark if I decide to pick it up again. But again, I've already beat it on PlayStation. I've got no intentions of picking it up on PC, but I have potentially got a reason to pick it up if it ever comes to Xbox. And I'll get it again and get me achievements on that.
Okay.
But no, good. I'm eventually going there. I'm probably lying. I probably will pick it up because I have got Integrate on PC as well.
Okay. I know you have the Final Fantasy games like on every system that they
On
are
everything,
available on,
yeah.
so I would assume you're gonna get it as well. I really did enjoy the game. It's a fantastic game. There's no doubt about that. But since I already have played it, I'm not gonna pick it up on PC. I own it on PlayStation, and I'm good with that. Nevertheless, the interesting thing is for me that it now took them almost a year after launch to come to PC, which is fairly
Getting
long.
shorter.
Yeah, I actually feel like it's fairly long because Square was so vocal about them not wanting to do the exclusive thing anymore, that they need to launch on more platforms. And like honestly, it now comes in February. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, very end of January, basically February. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get crushed. Nobody's gonna care if it comes to
Yeah.
PC. That's because on the one side there is just too many other games coming off obviously in February. February is so crowded. In between Ghost of Yotei, Avowed, what's the other
It's Ghost of
Assassin's
Yotei
Creed.
February, is it?
Pardon?
It's Ghost of Yotei February.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Ghost of Yotei, Assassin's Creed. There are so many gigantic games coming. There's just no way that Final Fantasy VII on PC will get any recognition anymore. The other thing is, if you do release them so far apart, nobody's gonna care anymore. The hype is gone. Those people who really wanted to play the game have already played it now. Yeah? And you totally lose that viral effect. When a game comes out, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out on PlayStation. Everyone was playing it, everyone was talking about it on the social channels. If you would release your game simultaneously on PC, you would get that hype over to that audience, but you're not going to do that with a delayed launch. And it's the same. We've seen it so many times in the past, especially on Xbox. If you think about it, Baldur's Gate 3 was the thing when it came out. It launched like a week or two apart on PC and PlayStation, right? Everyone was hyping it, playing it, excited about it. And then a couple of months later, it comes to Xbox. Nobody gave a damn. Everyone played it already or has moved on. It is going to be the same with Black Myth Wukong whenever that might come to Xbox, if at all.
Yeah.
Because by then nobody's gonna care anymore. It's just, if you don't want to do an exclusive, do it day and day, take the hype with it. Which also, by the way, is something Outer Worlds 2 is doing it, right? Was announced as well for the PlayStation. We're not gonna get into that discussion again today.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's something we're gonna have that conversation again, probably many times on the podcast. I'm not gonna do that today. So Any game we missed that we need to talk about from the Game Awards, man?
Yeah, I think there was actually 2 seconds. I'll bring them. I'll just rattle off a couple of the names, and if we want to expand on them, then we'll expand on them.
There was
2 moments there.
Okami, the sequel.
Yes, a new Okami sequel. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a new Okami sequel. We also had the Crimson Desert release day.
Oh yeah, right. Crimson Desert. Oh, by the way, that looks so. Every time I see Crimson Desert, it just looks so good. They said late 25, so I'm thinking November, December. That's for me late. Yeah. If they don't move it to 26, I could see when you look at that game, and the ambition of it, it is
it's massive.
It is massive, and it is just something where I could see them really doing a delay into. If you're gonna launch in December or November, you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah. You also had a new Ninja Gaiden platformer, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, coming to Xbox next summer, 2025. Yeah. A new one from the developers of Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have an actual project, like an actual name. It's called Project Century. And it seems to be going back to kind of, should we say, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s Japan.
Yeah.
We're kind of old school. It looks a little bit more grounded, this game, compared to the Like a Dragon games. Not quite so wild and more a little bit more kind of down to earth. So that looks relatively interesting. We've got a brand new Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighters has come back. Let's have a look here. I think we've actually pretty much covered it.
So let's wrap it up then in terms of the announcement. Overall, man, again, the actual award ceremony is more or less a farce. We'll talk about it in a second, a little bit about who won and what. But in terms of games announcements, this was one heck of a show. There's no doubt about it. Some insanely good announcements from The Witcher 4, obviously being the best one, to Intergalactic, to Turok, to Borderlands, to Outer Worlds 2, to Mafia, Elden Ring is in there, Split Fiction. This was one hell of a show. We gotta give that credit to Jeff Keighley. It was, in terms of announcements, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. It was, right?
All right.
Probably the biggest announcements that he's had on this show, I think, to date. There's a lot of big ones there. PlayStation fans got something. Xbox fans got something. I think Nintendo fans got a couple of little bits as well, but not anything substantial that we'd really care about. But still something. And like you say, a load of multi-platformers that everybody can get excited about. So there's a lot going there, a lot to look forward to. So, and a lot of it was next year, which is just makes 2025 just ridiculous.
It is. 2025 is, besides all these great games that we already mentioned and talked about that are supposed to come out next year, there's another factor to throw in. The Switch 2 is about to launch next year, right?
Yeah.
It's most likely going to launch within the first half of 2025. You know that there is a new Mario game coming. Metroid 4 Prime is coming. There's plenty of really good good Nintendo stuff coming next year, actually, and that's on top of all these major AAA games that we already talked about. So this is really going to be a crazy year. Absolutely. Dutch, let us briefly talk about the actual awards. Astrobot won Game of the Year. Your thoughts before I give my spiel?
Congratulations to Astrobot. It's nice to see a platformer win it. Like you say, it's crafted really well. It's a really great game. Probably not the one I would have chosen, but you could see it coming a mile off. Ages ago, like as soon as it released, the vast majority of the people who reviewed it said this is going to be Game of the Year. And it literally, that's it. It was already pretty much set in stone at that point. The vast majority of reviewers at that point just said, yeah, it's going to be Game of the Year.
Yeah. I agree.
So
would not be my choice.
No. But we can't take away the fact that it is a great game.
It is a great game. There's no doubt about it. And the pace is different. So I can live with Astrobot winning. My problem is the people who choose it, right? That's you can tell from miles apart that most of these reviewers are not gamers.
Yeah.
The people that vote, like 200 people from IGN and Eurogamer, and they are both owned by the same mother company, and it's basically one outlet that votes. They hire these wannabe journalists and try to turn them into gamers.
Yeah.
And probably at least half the panel that votes didn't even play the games. And it just is such a flawed system. And so nothing against Astrobot. It is a phenomenal platformer. I recently played it last week. It is a fairly short game as well. Well, if you do like collect all the bots, obviously you get a little bit more out of it. There are 300 bots to collect. I did 250 or so. So not every one, but it was done like in 13, 14 hours, something like that. It's a super good game, super good platformer. With lots of nostalgia. Taste is different. Taste is very different, so not arguing about that. But it's just again the whole system. How these. What are some of the other things that got awards? Right. Astrobot also won Best Game Direction. Yeah. I don't know. Best Narrative, Best Art Direction. Both went to Metaphor, and I'm sorry. Well, I can't really talk about the narrative because I haven't played it.
Yeah.
Art direction, no way. There have been significantly better art directions this year. Significantly. In so many games. You just jump in if you want to add something. Otherwise, I would just move
on. I mean, with again, same for Metaphor. I can't really speak on it. All I can go on is the reaction that people that I know have played it, have loved it. Spoke about the story and how great the story is, and have spoke about the UI and the way that the UI kind of interacts with the combat and things like that, and how fluid it is. So, I mean, it depends. Like you say, I think it's taste. I think very much a taste thing. Because I wouldn't have chosen it. I would have. There's other things that I would have probably put in its place.
I truly do love JRPGs. I truly do. My Xbox year in review, by the way, revealed that my most played games this year, JRPGs, right? it was like the very most played was Octopath Traveler 2. Locked that in with the highest number. Then we had Ayuden Chronicles in there, and Visions of Mana in there. So it's really not that I do not enjoy JRPGs. I love them, but I have zero interest in Metaphor. I just don't like the looks and feels of these Atlas games. And I'm telling you, if Metaphor would not have the name Atlas behind it, it would not have been nominated. Absolutely. This is one of these games where these wannabe journalists, oh, this is Atlas. It's the one JRPG we know in Persona. The makers of Persona, their new game. It's gotta be in there. And if it wasn't, if it wasn't the name Atlas, it would not be in there. Because no way this game is best art direction. That I can tell without having played it. And I can also tell, given the great stories I've played this year, I highly doubt it that this is best narrative. Anyway, best score and music went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I can see that. I can actually that's one I can see because the soundtrack was awesome. Best audio design, Hellblade 2, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. And best performance also went to Melina Jürgens.
She's got the double.
Yeah.
She got the double. She got the best performance for both Hellblades.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really good.
I think if they'd have counted Indy this year, I think Indy would have won.
I agree.
And that's only because he sounds just eerily close to Harrison Ford.
I mean, did you see Harrison Ford was on stage? And he was like joking. If I knew how good he did it, I would have done it myself.
Yeah.
It was like, truly, Troy Baker did a phenomenal job with Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. I agree. It will absolutely get overlooked next year. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's a damn shame.
It's a damn shame. So that's why we do our Game of the Year thing, right?
Yeah,
we count
every year. It goes within proper time frames where everything that releases this year is counted into it.
I mean, I know why Jeff is doing that early December because it makes so much money. The advertisements get a lot higher, generate a lot higher revenue. That it's just in this pre-Christmas phase, you get a lot more money out of everything if you do it in December as to compared to January. I totally understand the business side of things, but that's the problem with this entire thing. It's not about the awards, it's about Jeff making a lot of money. And that's all. Nothing else. And it should be about the developers, it should be about the games, and it should be a transparent system, and every game that comes out in a calendar year should be eligible. It's just, I don't care about him making more money, but I get why he is doing it. So what else have we? Innovation in accessibility, Prince of Persia, and games for impact, never. Best ongoing game, Helldivers 2. I don't know. Listen, it had its.
You can't be the best ongoing game when you've only released this year.
I wouldn't rule it out because of that.
No, you can't. You can't though because you've only just released. You can't be the best ongoing when you've only just released.
They released in February. They had 10 months, and listen, my problem is that they haven't supported the game. They have done bug fixes and patches and stuff like that, but in terms of content, nothing. They had
a couple of live events. That's it.
They spiked at launch. Then that was it. Pal World had more content added, and I wouldn't even consider that. Best ongoing game would be like, I don't know, a Fortnite, a Warzone. Those kind of games. They do ongoing stuff. Anyway, best community support was Baldur's Gate 3. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Community support. Whether the community manager talks to them on Twitter, I don't know. Best indie game, Balatro. Same for best
Yeah,
debut
I
indie
can see
game,
that.
Balatro, and best mobile game, Balatro. That's fair. Best VR game, Arkham Shadows. Best action game, Black Myth Wukong. No way.
Yep.
No freaking way. Best action adventure game, also Astrobot. Best RPG, Metaphor. Also, all no way. Astrobot isn't an action adventure game, that's a platformer. Anyway, best fighting game, Tekken 8. That's fair. Best family game, Astrobot. I can see that. Best sim, Frostpunk 2. Best sports or racing game was Football Club 25.
Yep. FC25.
Anyway, best multiplayer game, Helldiver 2. Well,
How? Over Call of Duty?
again, this comes down to taste again. And I, at least I can see that.
Yeah.
That's best adaptation, Fallout, obviously.
Yep.
Most anticipated game, GTA 6. That's
Oh, he did tease something, by the way, when he was talking about the Fallout series. He did tease something about series 2. He said,
what
"I'm
did
very
he tease?
thankful." Yeah, he said, "I'm very thankful that the New Vegas fans didn't burn my house down, and they'll be happy that they didn't."
Okay. I mean, I've seen that they started the actual shooting of the next season, like 3-4 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, best esports game, League of Legends. That's about it. So
Always. When is that not the best esports game?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure that's every year.
Yeah, probably. Probably. All right. Anything you want to add to the Game Awards before we wrap that up?
Nope.
All right. So overall, again, a good announcement show. Couldn't care less for the awards themselves, because I don't think they are representing the games, the developers properly. This anyway.
All the categories properly. Yeah, I mean, if you respect them, you put them in correct categories that respect the developers. But they didn't. As soon as they put DLCs into a Game of the Year category, you knew they don't. You obviously have zero respect for the developers themselves.
Yeah. Agree. All right, Dutch. In other news, besides the the Game Awards, there's one thing I wanted to discuss with you. Steam updated their what's that in English?
UI.
Not the UI. Their terms of
terms of service.
Terms of service. And this isn't usually an interesting thing to talk about, yeah. But in this one, they changed something and included something that sparked up quite the interesting conversation over the last days. That is that they are opening up their license agreements to Steam OS driven machines, suggesting that not only the Steam Deck, which was a pretty successful handheld for them, might run the Steam OS in the future, but there are other devices coming. So
it makes sense. It makes absolute sense. The reason I say that is because as Microsoft are finding out for themselves, being so far behind in the platform race, is that they make so little money on the hardware itself that they're like,
Yeah.
we may as well put our software everywhere else because ultimately that's where we make our money. And Steam are kind of saying, well, the base that we make all of our money is our Steam marketplace, our app, and our OS. So ultimately, if as long as we can provide our OS to people to put onto any platform they want, they're going to buy games on our storefront and on our platform, and therefore we make more money because we don't make ultimately that much money from the handheld itself, and we'll continue to make the handheld. But if more people make them and use our OS, that means more people use Steam, and therefore we make more money. So it's absolutely makes complete sense that you just open it up and let people just use it. Meta obviously did that not too long ago when they said you can just use our Meta to create whatever you want and put whatever you want anywhere. Exactly the same thing. Open source it. Open source it. Let anybody use it. Why not?
See, I have so many thoughts about it. I totally agree that it makes sense. Isn't that the original idea of a console, right? You don't make money on the hardware sales. None of the console manufacturers actually made the money off of selling the hardware itself. That has never been the business. This is what I always find so funny when people say, "Oh, the industry is changing. The industry is changing, and Microsoft is adapting to it." No, the industry isn't changing. The business of consoles has always, since their inception, been selling you a hardware device, and then we bind you to our marketplace to buy games. That has always been the concept of a console. From the OG Nintendo, Sega consoles to PlayStation to Xbox to everything, has always been the idea. Listen, we give you a device for a fair price, and then we lock you into our storefront, whether it's a physical storefront or a nowadays more like a digital storefront. So, and Steam has been owning the PC market, right? They are the
Dominate the PC front.
dominating. Like, I don't know the actual market share, but it's definitely 90+%, right?
Yeah. Easy.
Easy. And so what they've done consoles before, right? Remember the Steam machines?
Yep.
But they were
Steam
like
box.
the Steam box, yeah. They were not like really thought through.
No.
It's they this was too early for them. Now they done hardware again with the Steam Deck, and the Steam Deck is massively successful. For handheld PC, obviously it provided something unique when it came out. Asus and Lenovo and all the others followed suit, released their respective handhelds, but the only one that runs the Steam OS is the Steam Deck, and it is the most successful out of all these handhelds out there, these PC-like handhelds. And it just makes sense for them to try to do another console-like experience because all these other devices are Windows-based, and I do really like my Asus ROG Ally, but the Windows experience drives me nuts on a gaming device like that. It is every time I boot that thing up, I need an update. May it be Windows, may it be a driver, may it be the Armory crate, may it be an Asus thing, may it be a BIOS update. Always, every freaking time I start that thing, I need to update something. It is just, and when I boot it up, it boots up into Windows, into my regular Windows desktop. I have to fumble through, and Steam did what everybody wants in such devices, and that is convenience. It's Linux based, you boot it up and start playing games. Yes, there is occasional updates. We have that on our consoles as well, but it's nowhere near the same like in the Windows based devices.
Yeah.
And they have created a convenient operating system that runs the games, right? And why not open that up to console manufacturers? Now,
Yeah.
whether it's them making a console like with the Steam Deck, or maybe they license it out to other, you know, hardware manufacturers. They license it out to the Asus, to the Lenovo's, to the HPs, whatever. Whoever wants to make a console. I think that is a fantastic idea. And it is something I've been saying, if you recall, for months now.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly believe that the next Xbox console is going to run some sort of Windows. Whether it's, I doubt that it's gonna be like you boot up the next gen Xbox, um, yeah, and boot into your regular desktop. I don't think that they are stupid enough to do that. It is some sort of launcher that they have, and it looks like a console OS, but at its core, it's Windows
Yeah.
because it makes life for developers so much easier. These games are developed for PC anyway. Xbox has been doing it since 2017, 16. All their games launch day and date on PC as well. It's these PC versions of the games are there. And every time a developer needs to do an Xbox port, it takes them time, it takes them resources. They have to do a different version because it runs simply on a different operating system. And it is the most logic thing to do for Xbox to get the thing Windows based. But honestly, if Steam is doing that, this will be very hard competition for Microsoft. Because if
Yeah.
Steam opens up, licenses out the Steam OS, and they've done a wonderful job with that. Mambo Chess in the chat says he loves his Steam Deck. The OLED and UI is beautiful. Yeah, it is beautiful, simple, and convenient. And that's what these
You know what's
gaming.
also very convenient about the Steam Deck? I repaired one not too long ago. And the interior is modular. So if you break a stick or if you have a stick drift on one stick, that particular stick is labeled left or right when you open it
Yeah,
up. You just take out the two like nice cables,
yeah,
and you can just literally just take out that little mod and just replace it with one. Nice and easy, and it's super cheap to do as well. You can just go online, just unscrew the back, take it out, put another one in, sorted, fixed.
and be done with it.
Unlike yeah, unlike controllers and other things like that, where it's all just on one board. So if it breaks, you have to solder it off and then solder a new one back on and then calibrate the stick and then hope it works. You don't have to do any of that with a Steam Deck, which is really handy.
Exactly. And if they can bring that to a little beefier machine,
Yeah,
a little beefier machine, and that you just plug into your TV and you have your Steam library there, right there. And Steam, let's be real, it's the most convenient digital storefront out there. Their terms of service are super customer friendly, right? Getting refunds or whatnot. It's the Steam sales super cheap, right? They could really enter that market. It wasn't possible for them to do that a couple of years ago with the original Steam machines. They didn't have that UI down. They
yeah,
didn't have the controllers down. Now, if they fix that, they have fixed it. They have it ready. It's running on millions of Steam Decks. A
yeah,
perfectly designed console-like experience just with PC games, right? and you have your entire Steam library there, and bam. And maybe since they are not interested in doing these kind of hardware things, maybe they license it out, and you have like third party, your take Asus or Lenovo for instance. They build a home console you can plug into the TV. Actually, I thoroughly believe this is what Microsoft wants to do, but they are not there yet. And Steam could beat them to the market on this one. This is also something I firmly believe, that these rumors about Xbox launching in 26 with next gen is also a consideration of that kind of factor, because if they do a Windows-based launcher on a console, it's basically exactly the same thing like a Steam machine, yeah, except that it also runs, of course, Game Pass stuff. This is the one thing that Steam is missing. But since people really, really enjoy their Steam ecosystem, this is something super interesting, I think, that could come there. I don't know. Anything you want to add?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I agree. I think it's like you say. I think it's a wise move by Steam to do that and to get more people creating and using their brand. Ultimately, for them, it's going to create them more money. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, good shout.
Most certainly. All right, Dutch. Let us move to our community questions of the week.
You're so good. Every day I hear the words from you.
All right. As always, you guys can write in community questions, and usually we post on Wednesday throughout Twitter, through X, Blue Sky, of course here on YouTube. And you just can write in questions that we are trying to answer during the podcast. And this week we got a couple of good ones. The first one coming from Steve, aka SWB6 Gaming. And he says, my question would be, what should machine games do next? Another Wolfenstein? Just to get you to say it? Or a more prized IP? Feels like they have earned another crack at making another top-tier game, not to downgrade Wolfenstein, but you know what I mean. So, what should machine games do next, Dutch?
Oh, you know what it is? After seeing them absolutely smash Indy out of the park, I would love. I mean, outside of seeing Wolfenstein continue, I would love to just see a new Indy game again. I want to see what other mad adventures they can come up with in the Indy universe that have been so very well crafted with Troy Baker is kind of extending the legacy on.
And I mean, Lucasfilm Games came out this week, and Lucasfilm Games has said it would be super interesting to tell more Indiana Jones stories, more Indiana Jones games. They have other stories to tell in that time frame between in the timeline of the original trilogy, right? They are
I think the thing with these film studios is that, but I think when they've got a studio that's made something as well as machine games have,
yeah,
their best option isn't to just go, let's make loads of indie games with loads of different studios, because that isn't how successes work. Like, it worked with machine games because they chose a really good voice actor, that happened to sound very remarkably like Harrison Ford and got the likeness of Harrison Ford to make a really well-crafted indie story by a very, very talented studio. So I think hopefully they just stick with machine games and just create more indie adventures with machine games going forward. I think that's the best option for them, because if you start divulging into different studios, you end up kind of missing the magic that was, and just it kind of gets lost, and then you end up with a stale franchise again.
Yeah, agree. I totally agree. So yeah, for machine games, what should we do next? I mean, Machine Games has become a fairly big studio. Yeah, more than 150 people working there. I could see them tackle like two IPs. Finish up the trilogy of BJ Blazkowicz, right? In Wolfenstein, and already and maybe making another sequel and put that in pre-production. I'm seeing how much I loved indie. It's tough. The obvious choice would be to say, hey, just do another indie sequel, right? But then I also really loved Wolfenstein. It's just been a while, and
Yeah,
I mean, leaving Wolfenstein alone for so long kind of sucks. It kind of sucks then to wrap the trilogy up, right? If you have like 10, 12 years just to finish that story, this was like is more like an IP where you release like the trilogy every 3, 4 years, the next game, and then move on. So I was already surprised them doing, instead of Wolfenstein 3, an indie before they finish up that. So yeah, man, we shall see, man. We shall see
yeah.
what they will do next. The next question comes from Rafe Damos. He says, "Hey, you two wonderful chaps. Which would you find be more ideal for the next Xbox console? A. Xbox first-party hardware that can load Steam in developer mode, or B. Third-party console that can dual boot into their Xbox OS or Steam OS."
I don't like the idea of dual booting. It means you have to play one or the other. I like the idea of them being merged into one seamless platform.
Yeah,
So I'd have to go with the first option.
yeah, I would agree. I don't want to like boot in, make it complicated to boot into this OS or that OS to play that or this game.
Yeah.
Um, make it
Like Rogue Ally has, essentially, you've
Yeah.
on the Rogue Ally, you've got Steam, Epic, and Game Pass game, but you can install them all individually,
Yeah,
and they all come up just with their icons on to tell you which one it's installed from.
yeah, exactly.
So ultimately, like that, essentially, if you're going to be doing kind of everything's on one, then do it a little bit like Rogue Ally has in that sense, where you can kind of see where it's installed from.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. He follows up with another question. Could you tell us your plans for the holidays? Hoping you and your family, friends, and this wonderful community all have a safe and merry holiday season. Of course, I hope that our community has a happy holiday season. Absolutely. Do you have any specific plans?
Bed rest.
Bed rest. You need to cure that cough, man.
Bed rest for me. No, spend a little bit of time with family on Christmas Day, but other than that, no, just rest, rest, recuperate over a busy, long year, and then go into next year and plan more hikes and things like that. But no, quite a quiet one for me, and it's just exactly the way I like it. And a nice break from things over the Christmas period. And shout out to Rave Damos as well for a $5 super chat he sent me, which we'll include on this section. He said, "Hi Dutch, accept this as a donation into the Take a Hike Fund so I can continue to be in awe of some of the beautiful landscapes. Hike on."
Sweet.
So thank you for that, sir.
Awesome.
I think this is partially the reason why I'm like this as well, because I started the hike on the weekend with a bit of a chest, and of course it was in the middle of Storm Dara, so I was very, very soaking wet through. It was -2, -3 with -14 wind chill, so it was quite a wet and cold one. So I think that's definitely played towards having a significantly worse chest this last week.
Yeah, man, you definitely need to take care of that. So for
Yeah.
me, I mean, I do have kids, right? So it's the holiday season is always like pretty much the same. So we're gonna visit my in-laws and family of my wife. And then the next day we go to my parents and my brother and my family side of things, and then
Who's dressing up as Saint Nicholas?
we don't dress up as Saint Nicholas and on Christmas. We don't. It's kind of weird. Only in Germany, the Santa Claus is not coming on Christmas Day. Santa Claus is coming at December 6th here in Germany.
Yeah, it's the same in the Netherlands. Yeah, it was like the other week. It
Yeah.
was like weeks
So
ago.
on December 6th,
Santa
we have
Claus.
this like tradition where you basically put your boots in
Yes, put your
front of the
shoes out.
door,
Yes, I remember.
and then but Santa Claus only brings like little gifts, like
Little bits, yeah.
sweets, chocolates, and
And fills your boots. Yeah.
so. And then on Christmas Eve, uh, there is no proper English word for it. It's in Germany. It's called the Christkind. It's like the Holy Spirit of Jesus or something, and that's the one who actually brings the gifts.
Right.
So nobody is dressing up here as Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. So
So you're dressing up as a ghost on Christmas Eve.
yeah,
Ooh. Here's a present.
that's how we do it, man. That's how we roll here in Germany. Yeah, so
Poltergeist.
we're doing that, and then over New Year's we are going for 3 days to Bavaria,
Yeah.
visiting some friends, and yeah, that's basically my or our plans for the holiday season.
Nice.
The Big Bridge writes in and says, "Welcome back. Okay, simple question this time. What's your 3 most anticipated video games for 2025? Wishing you renewed good health, happiness, and success always." Appreciate that, man.
Jeez.
So,
It's getting harder by the week, you know. It's getting
getting
harder by the
harder.
week.
It's
I can tell you what, obviously, and I think me and Boxy love the same here. My number one is Fable,
agreed.
without doubt.
Yeah, without a doubt.
100% Fable. I've got to say, Obsidian takes the other 2 spots. I'm sorry, but they do. Now I know that Outer Worlds is coming out next year. Then it's going to be Fable, Outer Worlds, then Avowed. I can't. Like, what a year that is. Yeah, that's my top 3. It's filled with Obsidian and Playground games,
That
and
makes
I
sense.
couldn't have
That
asked
makes
for a better
sense.
time.
So Fable definitely for me
Yeah.
up there, number 1. Then GTA 6, I gotta put it in there. I can't wait, man. I mean, Rockstar is just on another level, and I cannot wait to play GTA 6 if it comes out next year, which I still
Yeah,
don't know.
I think it will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will.
So and then I have only one spot left, and there's definitely Avowed and Outer Worlds now in there. There could be Crimson Desert. Honestly, this is just one game that looks so good. Assuming the new Mario,
Yeah, I would never
Yeah.
put that in.
3D Mario, man, I cannot wait to play that. What else am I missing right now without having a list in front of me? What actually comes out next?
Doom Dark Ages.
Yeah, Doom. Doom is man.
Ghost of Utah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, but I wouldn't put it
Assassin's
in top
Creed
3.
Red.
Yeah, no. Also looking forward to it, but not in the top 3.
Yeah.
Man, I'm missing one. There's
Turok.
it's not Turok. It wasn't. There is one game I'm missing right now. Anyway,
South of Midnight.
We're gonna come back to this question when we are a little better prepared in our Outlook to 25 show.
Yeah.
Pyromed writes in, would like to know your predictions for the 4 main games we will see at the Xbox Developer Direct in January or February. And if you feel adventurous, guess that 5th hidden game too. So it's.
I mean, now we know what games are coming out next year from Xbox Developer Direct.
Do we? They might have another surprise in store.
They might have another surprise, but so far we have Fable, we have South Midnight, we have Outer Worlds, we have Avowed, and we have the 5th, which is Doom Dark Ages. So is there going to be a 6th game next year, which is just
Call of
insane
Duty?
for a first-party output?
Call of Duty?
Call of Duty, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But they won't do a dev direct at the beginning of the year for Call of Duty.
Yeah, they're not doing that. I also don't think that they are doing Call of Duty again after the summer show game, the Xbox
Yeah.
showcase. So I'm thinking Fable is gonna be the game after the June showcase.
The big one. Yeah.
Big one. Yeah, they've done that for the last 2 years, just like they did the Developer Direct in January for the last 2 years, and I think that kind of format works for them really well. That's why I think they will stick to it. They will do another June showcase, obviously, and they're gonna have a Developer Direct after that, and I think that's gonna be Fable, because that is a massive game that needs explanation. Show off different mechanics, show off different mini games, show off what this world lore and everything has to offer. And I think that they will put that in at the end of the June showcase. So in January, I think South of Midnight is a safe guess. To put that in, and as well as Outer Worlds 2. That comes
And
out.
Avowed, of course. Avowed's been the closest one.
Do you think because they had that in the last year's Developer Direct, and it comes out like literally a week or two after?
I think it'll be a much smaller segment. I don't think it'll be anywhere near as big, but they'll definitely touch on it, and they'll say, obviously, coming out next month.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be just for advertisement reasons, obviously. It's
exactly.
In there
exactly
to some degree, but I don't think it's one of the 4 main games that they will highlight.
That'll be a little one.
I could see them putting in a Clockwork Orange, Clockwork Revolution.
I mean, it would be insane if Clockwork Revolution, by some miracle, released next year as well. And that would just be like Xbox's best ever year.
Yeah. Even without Clockwork, it will be probably their best.
Insane.
It's insane.
And we still haven't seen. You know what we still haven't had this year? For a while now. Forza.
Interesting thought.
There's been no Forza Horizon at all for a long time.
Yeah, it's been 3 years.
We're going back a few years now. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, Doom is also a safe bet, probably. I think Forza Horizon is gonna come out next year. I mean, they are launching Fable that holiday season.
But Obsidian are launching Avowed.
Yeah, but Avowed was supposed to be a 24 title, and it's coming in February. And I bet Outer Worlds 2 is gonna be late 25. So they have at least a couple of months between. But Fable is fall.
Even if they release them both very, very close together, a racing game and an RPG are entirely different.
Yeah, but the studio, I don't know if Playground
money,
is there yet.
Money.
Not sure, but it's an interesting thought. It is true.
I think what they could do if they did, and again, it's just completely hypothetical because it's very unlikely they'll do that in January. But if they did, they'll maybe do the Forza Horizon announcement trailer in January, and then do the gameplay in June, and tell you about the release date and the June showcase for whenever it is in the latter part of the year.
Yeah. Okay, so I think South of Midnight,
Outer
Doom,
Worlds,
Outer Worlds.
yeah.
Now we have 3, maybe Forza,
Avowed tiny one, maybe it's
Tiny
Forza,
Avowed one.
yeah, and maybe it's a secret little small project like we did with Hi-Fi Rush that time.
Maybe they put in Towerborn.
Yeah, that's a good show because that's releasing on console next year. It's already been in beta on PC for a while.
It's launching in early access in February, I think, or
Yeah,
March.
it just said the beginning of next year, just said Q1.
Yeah, so Q1. So by the end of March, they're launching that on PC in early access.
Yeah.
I could see them putting that in as well. All right, Dutch. Let's wrap the show up. That's it for this week. I want to say a big thank you to this awesome community joining us here on a Friday, which is not our usual spot.
Yeah.
But you guys were awesome to show up. Absolutely appreciate that. And of course, a big shout out to the nice folks that listen over on the podcast services on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Big shout out to you as well, Dutch. Let everyone know what you've coming up.
It all rests on whether or not I manage to shift this chest. If I manage to shift this rancid chest infection, then I'll do another indie stream because I need to get that game finished.
Yeah, you do.
But other than that, no, I'm just going to be resting. I'll definitely be back again next week for another podcast.
Yeah.
With your fine self. But other than that, yes, fingers crossed. I feel a little bit better and I can get some streaming done because I've got like I say, I want to play more indie. I just haven't had the capabilities to do so recently. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into it. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me.
So yeah, guys, we will be back next week. In the regular spot next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Europe, or 7 p.m. UK time. Again, a big thank you to you guys for tuning in. We hope you do have an awesome weekend. Enjoy some games. There's plenty to play. And we see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.